Yo, what's up? How we doing? I'm unhappy. Ask me why I'm unhappy. Well, I'm unhappy because I did something silly. I decided to give up the coffee. And completely throw away my repertoire and try a load of new things with white and with black all at the same time. Not clever, precious, not clever at all. Okay, so I've had an absolutely miserable time trying to play the English with the white pieces and the King's Indian with the black pieces, very often going into a perk defense and having a complete torrid experience, I have to say. So what I've decided to do, for just, for sake of disclosure, I'm gonna carry on with the English as white, but I'm gonna stick with my normal stuff as black. Okay, because it's just too upsetting, just like being beaten by 1200s in Blitz. So, and in combination with the fact that I'm supremely stupid this week, with no caffeine in my system and suffering a kind of a coffee hangover. Anyway, but with all of that aside, I promised you guys a video on the full English, and here we go. So this is our starting point. So I've got a Lichess study here with about 10 chapters in it, and I've got this here in the view that you will see. And so you're going to have the octopus walking you through with all of its little leggies, walking you through a few lines. So what I want to do, because I'm going to try a Blitz speed run, because I think I'm something ridiculous like 1294 right now in Blitz. I was shooting for 1600, right? And I reached 1550 not many days ago, and now I've gone, literally like Wile E. Coyote falling off a cliff. That is how it's felt. Okay. So I want to drill the full English, and so that's the idea. I'm gonna change. If I'm gonna change my repertoire, I'm gonna do it one opening at a time, not throw everything out and all at once, and then just overload myself, because I'm a bear of very little brain, right? So it's just too much. It's just too much precious. Not going to happen. Anyway, so what's the English opening? Well, it's not this, and it's not this. Well, blow me down if we don't push the C pawn. Like the kind of an opposite now of a Sicilian, right? Sicilian, they do this, we do that, and they do this, okay? Now, this I'm calling the Queen's English, because I process stuff with my ears more than... that's my kind of default thing. So what works for me is to talk myself through things, to remember my own voice saying stuff. Okay, so the Queen's English. So against 1e5, we play this move. Now, before everyone starts jumping up and down saying, that's not the right move, that's not what the title players play, I don't care. I don't give a flying one, because I'm not a title player. I'm never going to be a title player, right? What I want to do is beat intermediate players and become an expert level if I can. And this has its upsides. Right? Yes, it's not the most common move, but that's the way that I do things, because, like I say, I'm supremely thick, right? I'm getting very old, advancing in years, and I haven't got time to learn a load of mainstream theory. So I'm going to carry on using the English or other openings, but in the style that works for me, which is to find slightly unusual lines that aren't absolutely awful, but that throw my opponent off the scent very early on. Okay, so this is it. This is the point of the Queen's English with Queen C2. Okay, most common move, Knight F6. Okay, now in the Queen's English, this is me talking to myself so I can hear my own voice, okay? Whichever knight comes out, you play E3, okay? Now, we've played like a reverse Sicilian, okay? So this is a bit like an open Sicilian, okay? And the point of playing C5 in the Sicilian from black after we've played 1e4 is to prevent the move to d4. If we play d4, they'll take the pawn. Okay. Now sometimes we play d4 anyway and go into a Smith-Morra gambit, but anyway, so the point of this is that we prevent them from playing that move. Okay. Now, Octopus says King's Knight. Okay. Absolutely fine. And now, when you see these two knights together, right? In fact, 1, 2, 3 pieces would love to get a bit of b4 action in, right? So we're going to prevent all of that by pushing a3. Okay, we push on the queen side now, and then it says fianchetto, right? Really, any good move is here. White wins 65% of the time. Fianchetto the bishop. Okay, and a lot of these lines we're going to fianchetto that bishop onto b2. Okay, so absolutely fine. You get that one? Happy with that one? In fact, we'll just play it again. We'll play it and try not to look now at what the Octopus says. Okay, Queen's English after e5. Either knight comes out, it's e3. The whole point of this is that we take that pawn. They take King's Knight. And there we go. And here. And I'm trying not to look at the cheat sheet. Fianchetto. Yep, there we go. Look, mum, no hands, right? Happy? Right, let's move on. Next chapter, we play the English, right? Nobody expects the English. What would we play in this position? Well, the king's pawn has come out, so it's the Queen's English. Meet king with queen. That might work. Right, now they pull out this knight. Doesn't matter. Either knight comes out, it's e3. Yes? You see what I'm doing here? Yeah? This is just designed for the profoundly thick. There are 2 pieces now eyeing up this square, so as usual, a3. Right? We take, and lo and behold, haven't we found ourselves in an identical... Is it fianchetto then? Yeah, fianchetto. And then after knight here, the same position that we reached before, and we're winning like 2/3 of the games from here. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to learn these first 5 or 6 moves without buggering up my position. Okay, now let's look at an alternative. Okay, so I'm going to expand on this. I might have different studies for whole different lines, you know, because they can be very, very different. But the point is that the English is not the most common. Anyway, so out comes, okay, meet king with queen. Okay, block the bishop's intentions with a typical pawn push. There we go. Prophylaxis, a3. Right? Strike at the bishop. What can go wrong? Okay, fianchetto our bishop. Normally, more or less the earliest opportunity, when there's nothing else pressing, and white wins 62% from here. Okay? How many times has black reached this position? Never. Never, mate. Right? I'm not gonna play over these again. You can, you know, knock yourself out. Okay, what would I play in this position? I think I'll play the English, thank you very much, because I know which study we're on. Okay. A6, you meet with A3, which just says copy in. Block, blah, 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 blah. We've seen this before. White wins 60%. Boom, easy. Yeah? Piece of piss. What I'm going to do, I think I'll play the English. Okay, now then. Now this is the line that I've struggled with the most in my prep. Okay. Is the knight f6, the Anglo Indian. So if your opponent is like an Indian player, so that they would play this also against d4, they're hoping for d4 and to get into lines that they know. Right? We don't want to do that. Okay, so this is the Anglo-Indian defense, the second most common response after 1e5, and you'll see this in 20% of games. So there's a couple of options. G3 is absolutely fine, right? But we're going to play this. So remember in the Black Knight's Tango, if you followed that, then what we don't want to see is knight f3. Though we're happy to see this allowing e5. Anyway, so we're going to allow black to push on with his King's Indian kind of setup with bishop g7 and castles. Okay, we just bring out our other knight. We're not diving into a normal setup. Right, now that we've played knight c3, right, we cover the e4 square. So we're going to actually play pawn e4. Okay, and black's thinking I'm not in Kansas anymore, right? Now, just going back one. Okay, now, if we play d4 here, then black will just castle and crack on. And he's in familiar territory, okay? So that's why we don't play d4. After e4, we're threatening e5. And as every fool know, right, if white threatens e5, then black has to play the perky option of pawn to d6 to prevent this move, okay? So that's why we play this, okay? They're going to now play that. If we'd have played d4 instead, they'd have just castled and cracked on with a position that they're relatively comfortable with. Now, because they're Indian players, so that they've probably seen this position more often than we have. Probably. So, what we're going to do here is go for a massive centre. Boom. Okay? Now we have a huge space advantage. All three of these central pawns are actually defended. Right, so this is not a bad thing. And now we're just going to make a quiet bishop move. Now this is also a move to remember. This comes up a lot. Okay? Right, and notice the bishop here actually has more scope. And it still defends this pawn, right? It has more scope than if we put it here. If we put it here, it can't see nothing on the board. Okay? So, here what we're going to do, another kind of typical move to remember. This is me making notes to self now. Putting both of our bishops like this comes up more than once. So they bring their knight out. We're going to grab the space, close the center, throw this knight back into here, and now black is very cramped indeed. Okay, so what we're going to do actually now is a weird looking move, bringing our knight back to d2, and we actually win 60% from this point. They'll play that. We're just going to castle. We're going to crack on, enjoying our big space advantage and just trying to squeeze the life out of our opponent, really. Okay, happy with that? Now then, this is the tougher one. Okay, so we play this, the knight comes out. Okay, so what do we play against the knight? Forgotten already. Same knight. Okay. So we looked at g6 in the previous one. This is the second most common move. e6, kind of like premature, although it is, you know, along with these moves c6 and c5, equal, according to the engine, equal best moves. Okay, but very often black will wait for the move e4 to be... Oh, no, what am I talking about? Forget that. Forget that. Okay, now, there's a couple of options here. g3 is great here. Okay, we can also push e3 as normal, or we can go full English style with pawn to b3. Okay, and we're just going to ignore that entirely and fianchetto to our bishop. They will put their bishop there preparing to castle. Okay, and now we line up our queen. Now, this is, I'm going to suggest a kind of blitzy move here, and it's a dubious move. And it's not the best move, according to the engine, because the engine anticipates best play. However, it is very testing, and it's likely to do very well at the beginner, breakthrough, intermediate level. Right? Now, it's the move knight g5. Now, here, if black had played the move d4, then we're just worse. I won't lie to you, right? We are simply worse. However, by far the most common moves are h6 and g6, and in both of these scenarios, haha, it's black that's worse. Okay, and what we're going to do here, we're going to sacrifice the bishop because we've got a checkmate threat with the queen. Okay, they can't recapture because with the knight still on g5, we simply go in and checkmate. Okay, right. Now what we do is we trade off. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw Harry up the board. We're going to eliminate pawns. We've got try and open up that. Forget about castling, right? It's the queen and it's the rook. And what's black got? Right, already a kind of fractured kingside defence. Zero development really on the queen side. So we just push on with this. So I've named that the Dubious Maximus attack. Okay, let's get back to a little bit of normality. What would I play? I think I'll play the English. Okay, always mirror the knight move. Okay. And now, if they're going to go copycat style, we just develop the knight. Okay. Now, 4 knights, completely symmetrical. Okay. The move now is d4. You're like, what the what? 81% of the time they will take, and obviously we just recapture with a knight. And they do this. Now, what they should have done is pushed forward with their pawns here, but generally they don't. Generally they will go Indian style. Now I don't know how I'm going to remember this, right? Because I'm profoundly dumb. But a really good move here is to bring the knight back to c2. And they will always do this, and now we throw in the pawn. Black plows ahead with his Indian setup. Okay, quiet bishop. Right, if in doubt, just do that. Castle. And now white is better in every single line. Okay, and we're going to put our bishop here with maximum scope, looking over here. White wins 53% from here against 41 for black. So, it's not crushing, whatever, but for now, it'll do. And I probably won't even remember all of these lines. Okay, and we're going to go for a c5 thing. We'll go king's knight, and bang, again. Take. Right, now what we do is we play e4, and this is getting like a Sicilian Maroczy bind setup, okay? Our knight is attacked twice, okay, we want to develop and defend, so bishop out. Now we can just develop our knight. Okay, quiet bish. Castle and play on, and we're all good. Okay, so am I going to remember all this? Nope. Now the Anglo-Dutch. Now, players who play the Dutch against d4 were very likely to play this, and we're actually going to go back to the queens. The Queen of Holland. The Queen of Holland. We can remember that. Okay, these are all the most common moves again. Just going to push the king's pawn, king's knight. Grab the centre. Why not? It's very, very natural. Quiet bish. And castle, and we're good. Okay? That's more or less it. And there's another one to cover, which is 1d6. And against d6, what we need to remember is that we're going to go up for a King's Indian attack kind of setup in this case, because it's just best. Okay? We go ahead and fianchetto. We develop our knight. This is all just very normal, easy stuff. So against d6, we go King's Indian. Okay? Develop knight. And no, you're not grabbing the center. Okay? Knight is best, but queen takes is also very effective, and we do fine from this point. Okay. There's also a sideline responses. I've not got much into this so far, but interestingly, this move is not uncommon. I have had that. You just take the pawn, right? Queen comes out, you take with the knight, right? Simple as. Okay. So there you go. Welcome to the full English, the stub, the origins, the early roots of the full English repertoire. Please feel free to try it out for yourself. Please feel free to improve on it. Other than that, hope you enjoyed it. Copy the repertoire as well, if you the study as well if you want. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.